Welcome everyone, Uncle Sam presents the Scarecrow Hour. Welcome to the Scarecrow, Scarecrow Hour. Random, the most random ninja. Uncle, who's your uncle? The Scarecrow Hour, brought to you by Uncle Sam. This is the Scarecrow Hour.
Thanks for joining us. We had a technical issue with the audio. We are aware of the problem with one of the microphones and have done our best to correct the error. Welcome to the Scarecrow Hour. Please enjoy the show.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. What's up, Uncle Sam fam? It's your boy Random Ninja.
And Uncle Sam?
And we are back for episode 2 of the Scarecrow Hours, Dazed and Confused, where we will actually talk about the movie this time.
This is me turning the page.
We spent the entire last episode talking about the cast, which is only a testament to how good the cast is.
Dude, this is a cast. If you're going to spend an hour talking about a cast in a movie, it's easy to spend an hour. And we constrained it to,
we didn't even talk about the extras. And in the smaller roles, we didn't, the junior high kids. We'll talk about them as we go because we need to talk about the movie.
Right. So it's time to move on. And this has one of the most, memorable opening scenes.
Yeah.
It starts off, with sweet emotion.
Yeah, you got the Universal, I love Universal.
Yeah.
Just because of the monsters and stuff and whatnot, Jaws, so that is so iconic. But it says, what is it, Grammy or something? There's some other thing they put up there too. And they really should. That was kind of, to make it if this movie doesn't work, it's not a Universal movie.
Oh.
It's this. Now you watch it, you get 2 Universal crawls. They're like, that's us.
So it starts off with Sweet Emotion by none other than Aerosmith, which starts off with Aerosmith, ends with Aerosmith.
No, it ends with Foghat.
Well, it ends with them leaving to go get Aerosmith's ticket.
Okay, you have a good point.
I know it's not an Aerosmith song.
Well, I didn't know because I know very well because I'll tell you why I'll tell you a story about that when we get to it. So this opening scene where you're seeing
it's lunch.
Yeah, it's lunchtime.
Finishing up lunch.
Last day of school.
Smoke
or liquid lunch? Smoke, right? So that wasn't the original beginning of the movie.
Okay.
The original cut of this movie is 3.5 hours, which
okay.
I would love to see.
I would really love to see that.
Yes, yeah. So the movie originally started
Linklater.
Later, yeah.
Email.
Put it out there, man.
Come on.
Or a comic book version, something. So this movie originally started with the statues.
Okay.
The statues they have. Yeah, the George Washington and whatever statues they are that they paint up like Kiss.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It started with them. It starts with and they shot all this and everything. Pink showing Pickford, hey, look, I want to show you something in the back of his El Camino. He's got the 2 statues because they'd stolen them.
Oh, okay.
That is a whole subplot through the movie because it's based on a true story.
Okay.
Where Linklater and his buddies, but it originally wasn't statues like that. It was a Ronald McDonald.
Okay.
That him and his buddies stolen from a drive-through. And they would take it to parties with them. And they painted it up like Kiss until they got busted.
Okay.
So they leave this party. Everybody runs out this party, and they get called to the principal's office the next day, and the police and stuff. They're like, okay, so they made up a story real quick. They're like, we can't tell them we stole it. We'll tell them we found it.
Right.
We found it. Da da da. That's our story and everything. So okay, and then they take them separately, and they're like, so da da da, and they're like, yeah, we found it. Da da da. Like, okay, come on, you're gonna show me where you found it because apparently they took them separately.
Oh.
And then they got there, and they're like, so was it face down or face up?
Believe it or not, officer, you're standing on the very spot.
Okay. Quick. When you found them, were they face up or down?
Face up, definitely face up.
And he was like, well, let's see. Linklater was saying, okay, his buddy's like, he's really smart. So he would say it was face up. And he's like, face up. And they're like, okay, Anyway, so that was pretty much it. And they wanted to use Ronald McDonald for this, but somebody jumped the gun and contacted McDonald's way before the things really got going. They're like, oh yeah, just letting you know, we reached out to McDonald's. It's a hard no.
Yeah.
And he was just like, why would you do that now?
Right.
He's like, wait, he was pretty mad about that. But so the reason they cut that out at the beginning is because that was a lot of Pickford and Pink are supposed to be best friends.
Okay.
But since London and Andrews had so much animosity against each other, a lot of it didn't work with them. In fact, that ending scene, I hate to jump to the ending, but I'm going to tell you what's not in there anymore.
Okay.
The cops at the football field,
Yes.
they were there busting them for the statues.
Oh.
And that's why the cops are there. They kind of had to redo it to where, okay, the cops are just there because your kid's here and everything, But it was,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that makes more sense. I
The
guess.
statues were a big part of the movie. They were the mascot and stuff. And the reason,
They
though,
wind up being whittled down to.
yeah, just barely in it,
Okay.
And one of the reasons too that he wanted to do the Kiss makeup on there was to try to get Kiss involved with the movie and stuff a little bit. Which Kiss they watched the early screening of it, said they wanted nothing to do with it because they would not condone drugs and alcohol.
Yeah,
and
sounds right.
he's like, but they sing rock and roll all night, party every day. Later, though, because you do know there is Kiss music in this film,
Yes.
they were like, Kiss got a hold of us, and they actually watched the movie, this time, and they love it, and they're like, do whatever,
Okay.
So, or people were telling them how good it was, so I'm like, let's do it. Kiss.
It's like you're really missing out on this one.
Yeah. So anyway, I would love to see this long cut, but so that's kind of the original. And speaking of Pickford, there are times, especially I know Matthew McConaughey, he says Prickford.
Yes.
You catch
yes.
that? Yeah,
Yes.
that was a reason.
Yes. Okay. I thought it was just because they were talking trash to each other.
Yeah.
Because there's like, one of them says Prickford, the other one, they call him would have been instead of Wooderson. Would have been. Hey, what up? Would have been. But then again, Pink uses it like friendly.
Oh yeah, right
so
on.
like it was kind of like just kind of a known, trash talking nickname. Whatever. So yeah, it starts off, with everybody doing their thing, everyone kind of showing who they sort of are throughout the movie, because you've got Slater, token up, all the girls getting ready for the hazing, Dawson with chicks, Dawn.
Yeah, he does that.
He's
like, it looks like I forget her. Yeah. and it's funny also when it shows, when it shows Slater, you could so see his mouth. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about, man. And then you've got, it took me a second to realize, that they were playing cards, Mike and Tony and Cynthia, and they talk about poker later,
So if you ever
leave the poker table. Yeah. Then of course you got Benny making a paddle. Lord knows the paddles are used.
Paddles, yeah.
Jeez Louise, dude. That was something else.
But I remember principals having paddles like that. And he's putting the holes in them,
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's drilling the holes, yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe parents used to let teachers hit us with clubs. Like, that blows my mind now. Like, I would have to be like, sir, I will defend myself. I will bring a paddle.
I got a single SWAT at school.
A single SWAT? That's all you ever got?
One
time?
One time.
Wow.
One
Good for
SWAT.
you.
A single SWAT one time.
How'd that go?
It went, I got into a fight. I had a broken arm, so I had a cast.
Yeah.
Messed up my cast. There was blood on my cast, not my blood. And the kid was such a prick.
Yeah.
I mean, such a POS that whenever we got in there, and I'm sitting outside, and I can hear him in there. Whop, whop, whop. I was like, God dang it, dude. I was like, oh man, because the dude was messing with my little brother.
Yeah.
And I told him, hey, just leave him alone. If you have a problem with him, come tell me, and I'll settle that stuff. And so his answer to that was swing airball. And so whenever he went over, I just went clobber, punch, clobber. Anyways, I had one of those big white plaster casts.
How'd you break your arm?
I fell backwards on it and broke the growth plate in my wrist, actually. So it was a broken wrist.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this kid get his tail end whooped. And I'm like, oh, crap. And so I go in there and he's like, all right, put your hands on the desk. You can't be fighting at school and da-da-da. So I got to give you SWAT. So I'm like, all right, shoot, here we go. First time ever. I'm like, God dang, I've never done something quite like this. Like I was a prick, but not I just never had that kind of thing happen. And so he takes the paddle, and you know how Pink does with
The wind up.
he's like, and then he just taps. That's exactly what happened to me. He goes tap, and he goes, Sam, don't fight at school.
That's awesome, man.
That was
That's
it.
a good story.
That was
I got licked several times, and it was usually for not paying attention. Dude, I'm a little bit older than you. I spent a little bit more time there in the 80s. Bro,
Yeah.
I remember teachers having ashtrays on their desk. I'm not saying they smoked in front of us, but they had ashtrays on their desk. You know what I mean? Well-used ashtrays. But like, I would get licks for daydreaming, licks for not having your pencil sharpened. I actually have a really dark story. I'm not going to tell it on here because that's just not the vibe we're going for. About licks I got that was a pretty gnarly deal, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, and I want to talk more about that scene, and we'll get to it about the wind
Yeah.
up and everything. But the paddles, yeah, gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
One of the few times you really see Pink and Simone hanging out together.
Yeah, you know, they're a
by
couple,
themselves,
but
like,
they're
well, yeah, he spends the whole movie trying to hook up with Jody.
Jody, yeah.
So, and he's always trying to avoid Simone pretty much the whole movie. But you see them together at lunchtime. And then it's almost stereotypical, but you got the black guy playing craps.
Yeah, they're shooting crabs.
You know.
Money.
And then of
And
course
that's also kind of true. Again, I'm race aware, and a lot of times you would have these groups of people, and there'd be, you know, one black guy in the
right.
group. You know what I mean?
Black guy.
And that would, and it's like, because I would tell people, I would talk to people that would say racist things and stuff. You know, it's like, dude, you don't even know anybody. You don't even know any black people. You know, I'm like, okay, what about so and so? And they're like, oh, he's cool. I'm like, that is literally the only black person you know. What about his parents? Oh, no, they're sweet. No, I love her. It's like,
They count.
that should be your opinion right there, you know. But you know, whatever, you know, it's not that podcast, you know.
And then basically you have Pickford, you know, getting high. That's like, it kind of runs through it kind of quick, and then you have the card. Well, you have the bell ring, and you have the exaggerated ring. It seems like, I know it's probably just legitimate, but to me, that the final ring, whenever the bell finishes, it always seems to, like, it lingers. It's
Lingers.
like,
I never really thought about
it's
it.
like, I don't know, like, they probably don't even use real bells anymore.
No,
but,
dude.
you know.
I was in high school. They said,
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah. But it just seems to me like it just like lingers, and plus it's kind of like, okay, this is the last time that you're going to hear this lunch bell. And then it bumps up, you know, May 28th, 1976, or it says last day of school, May 28th,
Right.
1976, 1:05 p.m.
Yeah.
That's when we start the movie.
That should be on a T-shirt.
So
Just
there we
that
go.
right there.
There you go.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the movie gets going. Then you got Pickford, and again, early in the movie, you have more Pickford and Pink
Yes.
together a little bit. 'Cause
Yeah.
again, they were meant to be best friends. You know?
Well, like during the daytime.
Yeah, there's a big shift in this movie from day to night.
Yes.
When that happens, you know, like most of it's night, but you know, and that was with filming too, because you know they said they basically became vampires while filming this because they were all living in a hotel, the same hotel. Most of them, Matthew McConaughey wasn't because he lived in Austin,
Okay.
so he had his own place and stuff. But what Linklater did for this too, he made soundtracks for each character and
Okay.
gave them and said, "This is the music your character likes."
Okay.
So he would have them listen to that stuff, but and they would only listen to 70s music, and they were dressed like it. They were really living in. They took this hotel over. Like said, like Jeremy London's room was like, it looked like, I don't know, some Asian drug den or something. They said that's the room you went to that you stumbled out.
Did you ever notice they eat more possum?
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know.
I saw
That's
that
what I was
too.
hoping you might
Imagine
know.
it meant something else.
Yeah.
It originally said something else, and they changed it
Yeah.
to possum.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
No, yeah.
I thought you might know.
No, there's a couple things that I don't know about it that's never really been documented about anything.
So if anybody knows why they're spray painted "Eat More Possum" on that
Again,
little
I
building,
think it probably said something else originally. It got changed.
but I don't understand what, like, but it's an O and two S's.
You can make.
Oh.
Never mind. Quote Jay, we totally do.
So, like, I did have a question.
Yeah.
And this has really little. Well, it does kind of influence a little bit how the character acts through the whole movie. Was Slater taking acid or pills?
Okay, now that is a good question, and I've wondered that myself. It is in the script that it says he popped something. You
Okay.
know, it doesn't say what. However, it's also been stated that this movie doesn't have any hard drugs in it. So might have been an Advil. You know, he might have been
Okay.
hungover or something.
Okay.
I don't. it could have been. I don't. They said Rory though. He did.
But he says about
fixing
to get,
be a-
fixing to get a lot
again,
better, which would,
mean something's going to kick in.
yeah.
I thought of that too, but he might have been referring to schools are going to be over. Now, I've only thought of that recently because
Yeah.
I've tried to figure that out myself because
Yeah.
it doesn't really fit with
mean,
it. I don't know.
And it doesn't really show, but it doesn't really show any, like it does, there's no indication other than just kind of reading between possible imaginary lines about whether or not it was a narcotic or not. I mean, because there were poppers and stuff at that time, or
Yeah.
whatever, or not poppers, but you know,
Well, lewds,
uppers
was that
and
a thing
downers,
then?
yeah, lewds and uppers and downers and stuff like that.
So
So,
it could have, you know.
anyway, I mean, it's not that it
No,
really.
it's an interesting question.
It's
Though.
just because I saw it and I was like, hold on a second, yeah, he's in it, but it doesn't. I was like, oh, okay,
You know, I always thought I'd seen after I drink out of the water fountain at school.
yeah.
You know, things could be a lot better. And again, such a quotable character. What time's your party, man? 9:30. Okay, I'll be there, man.
And then you have the discussion between the quote unquote geeks or nerds where they finally decide to get out and do something.
Right? Yeah. When he's like not gonna. When after you know, which shows you right there that freaking Pink hangs out with them because you know he's part of their poker group.
Well, yeah,
You know?
because he walks up to the door and he gives them the. Is that when he does the smoke or liquid lunch?
Yeah, because Pickford hands him his papers.
Yes, that's it.
And he's like,
smoke, right?
yeah, smoke or liquid lunch.
Yeah.
He's like, smoke, right? And that is a little geeky.
Yeah.
Because geeks say stuff. You know, it's not cool to point things out.
And
Like,
Mike
you know-
should learn. He definitely learns that lesson before the night is up.
Maybe if you smell weed, you don't have to say something about it. And then I don't know how many times I've said to someone, that's what I mean when we say like, be cool. Like,
Yeah.
don't say, if all else fails, don't say anything.
Right.
Okay. And like learning when not to say something is just as important knowing when to say the right thing. Just be quiet, you know?
Yeah, I think it already kind of shows that, like you said, how Pink hangs out with all these different groups, and he just kind of flows in between all of them. And yeah, like you said, he was playing poker with them.
Yeah. And
you
he's
know?
the king of the school.
Yeah.
He's the quarterback, you
Yeah.
know?
And so that just kind of shows, it's kind of a tribute to his character and who he is, you know, beyond just being that jock.
Yeah.
You
'Cause, I
know?
mean, later on too, he's one of them that breaks the fight up. Him and Wooderson.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, and if you notice that too, like Mike, who had originally referred to Wooderson as creepy,
Yes.
when he leaves, he shakes his
Yes.
hand.
Yeah.
You know?
He says, tell
You
him
know,
thank you or whatever.
Yeah, you know, which was probably more about Matthew McConaughey too. About like, let's make this character,
Right.
you know, let's treat him more like Matthew.
More of a redeeming character. For
Instead of creepy.
yeah.
You know, he's
Yeah.
not in any of the day scenes. You know,
Yeah. No, because they don't meet up with him until, well, why would he be in the day scenes there at school?
yeah, he's at work.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
at school,
Yeah.
the character be unredeemable.
You'd be like, dude, you're working for the
He's
city.
in the junior high.
Yeah, that's too much. Then you have them the dream. Tony's describing the
gosh.
dream device.
Yeah, that's a true story too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was Linklater's friend in high school. His dad was a
Perfect
history
female body.
professor. Yeah, and he had that dream. And I love it. And I quote that so much. Best not think too deeply on this one. And then the way Mike's like,
He's like,
sorry.
all right, He's like,
That's
man.
just real. Adam Goldberg really, he's not really the character that people talk about that much from this, but he really is so good at everything he does.
Well, especially whenever he's when he starts being a smart aleck and he's like, I just want to dance.
Yeah, I just want to dance. Which is, it's great line. One of the,
It's like, then what do you want to do?
yeah,
Oh,
it's the way he's like, I don't really want to help these people that I'm talking about helping. I was at the post office, and he's like, it's so out of character, honestly, but that's so quotable too. So people are like, so what do you want to do? You're like, I want to dance.
Just dance.
And they think I would love. See, I could watch a whole movie of them driving around and just hanging out. Which originally, this is more of a soundtrack thing. When Linklater had the idea, he wanted that ZZ Top album Fandango to be the soundtrack of the movie and to just play looped throughout the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it would always be coming out of a car, and the car
Okay.
was going to be in every scene was going to take
Okay.
place around a car. That was like the genesis of this script.
All
and
right.
stuff, you know?
All right. Well, there's still several good songs that are playing on the radio.
Oh, absolutely. Plus, there's a part where they play that album, and in Pigford's car, and it's an 8-track. That was a homage to the original,
okay.
or homage or whatever to the original idea.
Homage.
Homage.
You're a homage.
No Diddy. Yeah.
Then you got go ahead.
No, he's got the. Okay. But the shortly after this, am I skipping anything when the coaches give him? We see the coaches who they're like. Because they give him the pledge sheet. Because the pledge sheet.
No, you're jumping ahead
Okay.
a little. Well, no, not too far not too far before, because they got the girls talking about Gilligan's
Gilligan's
Island,
Island.
and then it shows Pink and Dawson and Pink and Dawn together.
Yeah, the Gilligan's Island scene, that was supposed to be longer too. The girls really get the shaft in this movie.
And oh yeah,
Yeah, they're like a lot of their stuff got cut, because, and again, because the kind of movie that they were trying to put out,
Okay.
and that sucks because the Universal didn't know what to do with this movie. They didn't know how to market it. It was too big to be an indie film,
Yeah.
but it wasn't commercial enough.
Gotcha.
That's why they really leaned into the whole the stoner culture stuff.
Oh, okay.
And they're like, okay, it's a stoner comedy, but it's not. It was never meant to be. And it's just unfortunately like they made in the original cut wasn't as funny. They
Okay.
made it cut it down to where there was more like keep the jokes.
Okay.
Let's cut everything else that's not funny.
Oh, okay.
So that's why you lose a lot of it. And however, the girl that's the Smokey, Gilligan, what's her name? I forget it. She's not a very memorable character. I think she was supposed to be in there more. She's kind of like set dressing a lot of the times because you see her later on. Anyway, she got the short hair. I always thought she looked kind of like a Lois Lane.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
I'm drawing a blank too, and I like know everybody else in this movie, and I'm like, I don't know. Regardless, she was actually with Jason London while they were making this. They were had a behind the scenes romance going on.
Okay.
Yeah, they met at the casting. And the casting also is where I said something about Ashley Judd earlier. Jeremy London met her there, and he got her number and stuff. A little bit more of the story, but it's not that interesting.
So next up is you have Dawn
Her
Gives.
name's Kay.
Okay.
I don't know if they ever say it in the movie, but I know that because I've read it.
I don't remember them.
I'm sorry.
But then next you have Dawn Giving. He was like, "Oh yeah, coaches wanted
Oh,
me
yeah,
to
right
sign
on.
this," and he's like,
You make sure
he
you,
already-
that's another example too of Don being a good friend because he's like, "Did you give him that pledge sheet?" He doesn't say yes. He doesn't sell Pink out. He's like, hmm? He's like, "What?" Thinking,
Yeah.
did I? He lets Pink answer for
Yeah.
himself.
Well, like whenever he's handing in the pledge sheet and all that stuff, like you can just kind of, he already knows.
It's
Like
awkward.
he's like, oh man.
The way he looks, he's
yeah,
like,
and he's like, do I want it? Okay,
Coach,
look
let me give
here,
you
I got to
this.
give you this. He's like, I have. And he's like, here, I already know how this is gonna go down. But
And, it's funny. The first time I watched that, and whenever Pink's like, I think we could do just as good if we were in a band or something. I thought he meant join band, like in high school, like the marching band. And Don's just like, yes. So,
But I thought it was pretty funny that Don's just kind of floating around from class to class to class, just doing his thing. Because, it's like they're about to be seniors, last day of school, and like plus the kings of the school. So it's just like, whatever. I get to do whatever I want.
and that's why Pink, and it's like, oh, Jeannie or whatever is like, gracing us with your present.
With your presence. Grace.
Let's see. Funny thing about that, real quick, is that's the real thing. The real Don, the guy that was based off, he used to flirt with teachers. And that was the scene, I believe, that Sean Andrews was bouncing the rubber ball, and that Jeremy London was finally like, "Hey," and went over. The original story I heard, he walked over and punched him. The other story I heard was he went to punch him, and Linklater got in between them.
Okay.
I don't know. I like to think he punched him.
It sounds like he deserved to be punched.
Yeah,
Just saying. But that did kind of remind me of like sort of how I was my final days in school the last year or so. Was everything was taken care of, all the classes were done, everything was wrapped up, and it's just like, whatever, I'm gonna do what I want. It's like, I'll show up. I'm, maybe.
Sure, right on. Gosh, I have dreams of that. You know what I'm saying? It's the weirdest thing. Like just being like at school and be like, I don't know how many times I've had dreamed. I'm like, I'm at school, I'm leaving. Or like I'm not going in today. Then I'm like, wait. I work. I have to, it's like I fantasize about not having to go somewhere.
But because then directly after that you have in the shop and the shopkeeper teachers crashed out.
Oh yeah, that was the one sleeping. That was a real shop teacher too.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He was really the shop teacher, and they put him in that scene. They're just like, be asleep, or whatever. I think he's still there. I don't know. He is. Real quick, I want to shout out some friends of mine. Tony Myers. I talked about him before when we did a Christmas Vacation because he has like the cups and the Griswold. Recently, I'll show you the pictures.
The Wally
and stuff.
World Cups.
Yeah, he loves this movie so much that recently him and his wife and his one of his kids did cosplay and they went to Austin and went to all these locations.
Oh, really?
And I thought of that, yeah. Really cool thing, which I've done a little of that. I've gone to a little bit of locations, and I'll tell you when we get to that part. But
okay,
I don't know. I was just thinking of that, and I wanted to be sure to shout him out. Not
cool.
that I don't know that he watches us because he never said anything about me saying anything in the Christmas one, but whatever. He's a busy guy. He's a ring announcer, DFW, coming up on his 10th year. Woo-hoo. Anyway.
Um,
Okay.
so they're making the paddles. You know, they're gonna meet up, all that stuff. You know, it's like nobody really cares what they're doing. It's just that,
Yeah, that's it's cool, man. Like,
you know.
I'm sure there are some jerk teachers that are like, well, I might give you summer homework or something. I don't know. Nobody cares. It's like this year I took my youngest out of she's in kindergarten. I took her out early every day of the last week. I was like, nobody cares.
Oh, and then they have you have Pink and them talking about the pledge sheet.
Mhm.
And he was like, what's next? They're gonna have you do UAs.
Oh yeah, drugs.
They
Yeah,
did.
that's
we
where
had,
it
we had
went.
UAs in
Yeah.
before two-a-days. I did two-a-days once. Was you assigned the pledge sheet?
Dude, I have been in a situation where I had to sign something one time. It was different. I was working somewhere and a manager was being a bit of a Nazi and was trying to take away a lot of like no more music. I will not listen to music at work. I will not do a lot of the stuff I did.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to sign it. and I finally, I wouldn't for a while.
Yeah.
And then the owner, who was actually a pretty cool guy, and I think he might have had something going on with this manager on the down low. I don't want to speculate.
Yeah.
He's passed away now. I could probably talk about it anyway. But he was just like, "Hey James, just make my life easier and sign it." He was basically Donnie. You sign it, you never think about it again. So I ended up signing it for him, but I didn't do any of that. I still did everything. So I thought of that. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like Dazed and Confused. And I was like, okay, except for this is real life. And I'm not Pink. I need my little minimum wage here. Yeah. So what about you, though? I know you wouldn't have signed it.
I would not have signed it. I don't know. Probably not.
No, you definitely wouldn't.
No.
It would have took a Donnie to get a friend to be like, even then, I could see you being like, sorry. Dadgum, you're gonna make a big deal. I would have been the Donnie in this situation. You're gonna make a big deal of this, aren't you?
It would be depending on whether I was a freshman or if I was sophomore to senior. Because freshman year, I just went along and did everything that you were supposed to do. And, I did all the sports. I showed up for everything, did everything like that. And then my last day of school, my freshman year, was the first time I partake in the cannabis. And so from then on, things like there's definite attitude shift.
Well, you were hanging with that bad crowd.
I know.
Notice.
Yeah, people noticed.
Hey, here's the difference though. If we were in that situation, I probably never would have gave you the paper. I would have just forged your name and left it on the coach's desk and be like, dude, trust me. This is just the way to go. And then you're like, well, that paper you signed, you're like, I signed the paper.
It's like, okay, when did I do that? Yeah, which, my freshman year would have been the only year that I would have passed the UA. Like, I couldn't even pass the UA for sophomore year.
I've had jobs where they threatened to give us UAs. I'm like, you can't afford to give us UAs. I was like, you know how much a wall-to-wall cost? I was like, you can't. I know what y'all pay us. I know what we bring in. And if you can afford that, you could give us raises. Anyway.
But it's like we both know plenty of people that would have jumped to sign that paper, do whatever it took to keep coach happy.
Oh, yeah. Well, most people. Yeah. Like, I never did good with negative reinforcement, but a lot of people did. Like, they were surrounded with being a play or being a coach yelling at me how bad you are or something, or a director yelling at you not doing the scene you want.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm like, well, you want to come up here and do it? I'd be like, well, how about I wait till day of the play and then I don't show up? Or how about, that's how I was like, I'll quit this. I was always real quick to be like, I'm not eating that crap, which is not really my personality because I'm pretty easygoing, but negative reinforcement, I match energy.
Yeah. I don't dig it either.
Yeah. If you come at me with an attitude, I will give you that attitude back. I don't want to because you can come and be nice. You can say, hey, James, you suck at this, bro. So let's do something. And I could be like, okay, I probably do suck at it. But if you come at me like, man, you suck, I'm like, you know what?
It's like, I'll show you suck.
Yeah, it's almost a weakness I have that I match energy so much. Instead of like, because some people, even though they come at you nice, they're not being nice, But anyway, it's not about my life. It's about Dazed and Confused. This is gonna be like an episode for every scene.
So we hit back the Gilligan's Island in the bathroom this time with the girls, which gets cut short too, I assume. I mean, that was a pretty short scene. And then you have directly after that, you have Jody setting her little brother up by telling him to take it easy on him. I'm like,
which You know,
Pink does.
Pink kept his word though.
Pink's the only one.
Yeah, but I
he's
didn't
like,
think
was there a little bit of bullshit in that?
Dead. Okay, so Cole Hauser and Jody, they had a fling.
Oh, really?
That's where it started because they pretty much shot the movie in order.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it started. Him hitting her on the butt and stuff, and they got a flirtation going. And I think they both were in relationships, but you know, for that movie, they were each other's person or whatever. You know how old Cole was in this movie? 17.
Really?
He looks like a grown man, dude.
He does actually look pretty grown up.
Yeah, they said he get in a lot of fights and stuff in Austin while they're filming this. Yeah, he would definitely he almost got stabbed one night because this dude pulled a knife on him and he ripped his shirt off. And was like, "Stab me!" And somebody went over there and grabbed him and he's like, "Well, I don't know that they saved my life, but he saved me from getting stabbed." It's like, I'll admit that. They were really into gun ranges too, because
Really?
a lot of these guys, they never been around the Texas culture, you know.
Okay.
So they're like, "Don't give us guns." So they would, and I do not support this. But they would get pretty lit up and go to the gun ranges. And he said one time Slater accidentally shot the ceiling.
Oh,
he's
no.
like, "How do you bam?" And
Oh, wow.
coming out, he was tripping.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. Do not.
Yeah,
Do not. Yeah. Safety. Gun safety.
Yeah, gun safety. Don't get high and go to the shooting
Yes.
range.
No.
Don't get drunk.
No.
Anyway,
No. Definitely not.
this day and age, you can't get away with it.
No, definitely not.
Too, because they were like, they let them in. You know, they're like, they're giving them bullets and guns, and look at them.
It was early 90s.
Yeah, you know. So
There's a big difference between early 90s and so they're like, okay, shotgun.
shotgun, yeah, which is a recurring thing through there. Shotgun.
Don stuck in the middle.
He does not shotgun's quarterback, man.
But especially I paused it right there because I was writing a note or something, and so it's paused with Don just sitting there. It's like he looks so squashed. He's not a little guy.
Yeah, that's a great truck. Every vehicle in there. That is actually. Hold on, I've got. If you want to talk about the vehicles, we talk about them, or we can just kind of talk about it as we go. Got a list of the ones I like.
Go ahead.
I have to find it.
Okay.
That's a pickup truck though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one that I saw the Texas plate on. And there's
It would be weird if it was a car and they were sitting.
bro. Okay, I'll keep this short.
They were sitting all on the one
This
bench
happened
seat in a car.
Woodson, so it's a small town. So I'm my buddy Estevan, who nobody even is funny, dude. He moved there not speaking English, and for the next 3 years, some people knew he could speak English,
Yeah.
and some didn't. He would use that every day in school. Okay, we have a test today. Like test. Test. It's like then you're over there shopping, I'm talking to him. And anyway, it's here and there. Anyway, he got to drive. We were like 14 or 15. He got to drive, and he had a pickup, and it was me. I was riding B in the middle,
Right.
You know, and this buddy Chris of ours, and Chris wasn't allowed to take rides home with people. His parents said, "No, you're not allowed to do that."
Oh.
So there's a group of kids we see, and his sister's with them, and so he's like, "Oh crap, my sister!" And he ducks. So I'm sitting right next to Esteban in the truck, and I was like, "No, get up here!" I'm trying to pull him up here. I'm trying to pull him up, and I'm like, "Go, go!" And they're just looking at us like, I gotta move now, and I did. Because
That's hilarious.
so what I learned to do though after that was anytime I was riding shotgun and I was in a truck with two buddies, I'd be like,
Duck.
I'm like, why are y'all sitting so close? But Dad, man, I miss that. You know, three, maybe four people crammed in the front of a pickup. You know, bench seats. I miss bench seats.
Yes and no. My first truck had bench seats.
Okay, well,
It had bench seat. It had a seat.
It had
in the
AC.
cab. It was 85 Chevy short bed.
Bro, when I had this 93 Dodge pickup, and I remember on long drives, I would get because I didn't have a radio in it, I'd get so bored. I got to do my seatbelt, and I would just stretch out and be in the middle of the truck, holding the steering wheel like this, driving like. Yeah, because I mean, when you're a kid, you don't freaking have a radio, and you're driving making a 2-hour drive. Gosh, on the highway, you know what I mean? Just, anyway, dumb. Don't do that either. That was stupid. But it was crazy how good you could steer like that. I was like, this is nice. Be changing clothes and stuff. Oh yeah, it was a 1970. I got it right here.
Okay.
Yeah, 1970 Chevy C10. Right on.
Could you imagine today rolling up on a junior high, getting out on a a bullhorn, but I mean, he's using the speaker, and cussing them out.
Yeah,
telling them,
listen,
"I'm gonna
little
whoop
effers.
their A's in."
And teachers are like,
He's just kicked back. He starts laughing.
"Oh, and Mitchie,
We're gonna get
yeah,
you.
we're gonna get you, pal." Mitch Kramer, poor kid.
So what would you do? Would you run, or would you just go ahead and?
Bro, I think about that every time. Every time I think about it, I'm like, and usually what I think
You know
is,
it's coming.
yeah, I
'Cause
kind
it
of
happens every year in your town.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I originally always think, okay, I'm gonna go out there and face it,
Yeah.
and let it happen. And then I'm like, why would I do that? I'm like, why am I going to feed myself to these people? It's like but I'm not. I just wouldn't want to take the licks at all, And it's just the fact of like, okay, I'm gonna let you beat me down. I'm gonna let you hit me. I don't know.
I grew up with a lot of older guys. Quite often, I was like too young to be hanging out with the kids that were around. Like whenever I was in,
Bro, you were too young to be hanging out with me.
when true. Whenever I was like, first, second grade on Glee Street, the people that lived behind us, their kids, their sons were like late junior high school age, like almost. And I would be around them. And so like I heard stuff. I didn't even understand what the world they were talking about until later on. I was like, oh, that means that? Okay. I was like, that doesn't even make sense. I'm like, why is he taking a screw? I'm like, I don't understand. What does a screw have to do? I don't, anyways. And so I would have taken it just because I know how guys are and how older guys were. I would have.
Did you get any kind of hazing or initiation into high school?
Um,
Because you're in Newcastle at that time, and these small towns, it was a little different.
some, but nothing extreme. But like I said, I just took it. I just knew how. I just like screw it. If it's gonna happen to me anyways, then I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and get it over with.
That's probably the way to go with it. But also, do you want to be in that first group of them because that's when they're going to be hyped to be doing it. Maybe if you wait a while, it'll kind of the excitement will die down or whatever.
I don't know. I may not have been so keen to just hop right out in the middle of it right away, but I definitely wouldn't have hauled I definitely wouldn't have just ran away like that just to entice them.
Right. I'm pretty sure there's a scene. If you look, they burn out and there's like already tracks there because they had to reshoot the scene. And it's like, oh, but I just always figured, well, that's where they burn out at, I did get a little bit of initiation. I was in Woodson and it wasn't bad. I freaked out because I didn't know what they were going to do to me.
Oh, yeah.
But they grabbed me. The seniors grabbed me. And it was like between the gym and the school, there's a hallway. It had this cage door that you can lock or whatever. They duct taped me to that.
I got locked in my locker.
You did? Okay, right on. So, but here's the thing: if I just knew they were going to duct tape me to it, I wouldn't have cared. That's fine. I didn't know what they were going to do, and they duct taped me, and I ended up ripping the duct tape off. But I'm like, I was so scared they were going to take my pants off or something, dude. Because I'd heard horror stories, man. I was.
Well,
really
I watched somebody get shoved, like pushed, like hardcore stuffed in, and so I was like, here, if you open the door, I'll step in that somebody.
Well, that's no fun.
I'm just like, all right, look, I'm in. It's like, okay, well, all right, whatever.
Okay, so right on. Anyway, so the kids running and stuff. You got Jim Dandy going. Yeah, it's a fun scene. I always felt like bad for Mitch having to be on like the other side of the car when they stop, because they're gonna get out. And like I'm like, dude, what? He's getting out.
It doesn't. You're jumping ahead.
Sorry.
Next is like it shows Pink in them, because that's
Oh yeah. I seen Hopped.
and so Pink and them pull up, and the coaches are standing there.
Okay, that's when the coaches are.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and then they stand up, and that one, it's just like moose knuckle on that one. He
Moose.
pulls it up, like they're already like jacked way up, and then he pulls them up even higher, and it's like
Those guys, they look like
those are
real
balls,
coaches.
sir. It's like, sir, I can see your.
Well, it's funny what London called the pants he wore. He was like, okay, I'm gonna rock these. And he's like, I'm gonna rock these nut huggers.
That's what they are, dude.
And he had to undo his pants when he'd sit down because they were so tight. Yeah. But yeah, dude, those coaches, I mean, I can't get over how much those coaches look like coaches.
They look like coaches. Like
yeah,
that.
like, I knew those coaches, and you got kind of the old, the more sour one, and you got the younger one. It's like kind of cool a little bit. What is it though? He's like, break down. He's like, oh, my old grandmother's faster than that. But she's
Well, like you have Dawn and who's the third guy? Because it's Dawn, Pink, and
or not. Yeah, Cole, right? Cole Hauser, isn't he the other one? And he's like, "Yeah, coach, I'm thinking about my grades are so good. I was
Okay,
thinking
yeah,
about
that's
taking
right.
being
And,
a writer. What do you think about that, coach?" He's like, "You wouldn't know how to write your name for what stenciled on your locker."
So like Benny and Don break down. Pink just kind of
He's trying to like walk away.
yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
What's the
man.
matter, Floyd? Quarterbacks don't have to do what their coaches tell them to. Dawson, did you give him that pledge sheet? Huh? And yeah, Dawson's like, huh? What? He's like, like, I wonder if Pink wouldn't have said anything. Don would be like, I don't know. Did I? Was that you?
Yeah, because he's like, before next fall, you're in need of a serious attitude adjustment, young man. Like,
Watch out for that other crowd you've been hanging with. Don't think I haven't noticed. Again, right? And you got to realize that the crowd he's talking about is like Slater and Pickford.
Oh yeah,
And maybe Wooderson. Maybe Wooderson's not on his radar right then.
right.
Because it hangs with that bad crowd.
Well, I mean, they weren't yeah.
Well, they didn't play sports. So if you didn't play sports to a coach, you're worthless. You don't matter. Hey, coach, remember me, second period? I love that line. Again, just realness.
Yeah, that's kind of what it has. Like, talking about the wrong crowd. I'm like, yeah, I might have had a little bit of a point. So that's whenever, okay, so he's like, you signing the paper or just chucking it?
Now, in real life, the coaches would have been like, sign it right here in front of me. Sign it right now. You know? So the fact that they give him the leeway and stuff, I mean, obviously for the narrative of the story and the plot and all that, it's a good thing. But like in real life, coaches, they've been like, now, sign it. And then, I don't know, he might have signed it. Just right then and there. Because, school's still going on. It's still almost like a mental thing, but when he deals with it later, school's done,
Yeah, I don't know, because it's his whole attitude. Yeah, his whole attitude with it is, I don't know. I don't know if it would have pushed him right then or if he was just already, because he doesn't ever really change his mind through the whole thing. Right. It's always just kind of like, you can tell he's not going to.
He says, I'll probably end up signing it, but he never really goes to, you know, and he's never like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, but does he mean that, or is he just saying it to appease the guys?
Well, I think he's still struggling with it, that he doesn't want to, and he's like, I probably will. And maybe it is a bit of appeasing. They're like, okay, he said he'll probably do it,
right?
Because it keeps coming back to him, know, and
so many times.
Yeah. But that also shows the guys how they understand Pink, But they also know we could be state champs this year, with him. Obviously he's a really good quarterback.
Yeah, and then Benny brings up that stuff later on.
Right. Yeah.
And that's whenever O'Banion shows up.
He flunked. What a inner freak. He's so excited too. Y'all ready to put? Dude, you just failed your
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I have. It's like, you loser, you just failed your senior year. He's like, I'm ready to go bust some junior high kids again. It's like, geez, bro. It's like, calm down a little bit.
He's like, I mean, he's kind of such a jerk. And he's like, wait, take your car. I'm low on gas. Okay. Picking up. He's obnoxious, man. And, that's sometimes I've felt like when I'm being obnoxious, I'm like, am I being obnoxious? Am I being kind of like O'Banion right now?
Is this just my O'Banion moment?
Yeah.
It's like, but the truth is he deserves every bit of everything that comes his way.
Yeah, he's not a bad guy to have on your side blocking, though.
Yeah, but he's a jerk. And so he does. Pink walks away, crumbles it up, throws the paper down. Melvin scoops it up. It's like, what are you doing? Picking up trash?
Yeah, what are you doing? Picking up trash? Just let him. Don't say anything. Just let him. Because, when Pink throws it, they're like, yeah, cool. We're cool with that. Well, see, even like right there, Pink decides not to sign it because he throws it down, There's that answer. Yeah. Then he's like, you're the third. Later on, he's like, you're the third person to give me this.
Yeah. Well, that's whenever Don's like, you're taking this too personal.
Right, yeah. The fact that the movie doesn't have that piece of paper is important because it's kind of at the heart of the film. Mm-hmm. It's the big question: will he sign it? Will he not sign it? And the ending is that because they didn't really have an ending for this movie, and even whenever the ending happened, like a lot of the actors were like, "That's the ending.
That's the end.
That's how you end it." Yeah. Because now the statues have been cut out and everything.
Yeah.
So it's such an important little piece. Which it could have been not at all.
Well, coming right after that, you have the Mr. Payne and them talking and trying to decide what to do and trying to leave and trying to cut out early.
Yeah. What's it like?
Man, it's like my sergeant told us, or he goes, like my sergeant told us before one night in the jungle or before one trek in the jungle, man, 50 of you are going in on a mission. Only 25 of you ain't coming back. Oh,
Right? Yeah.
like we are screwed.
You know that that teachers probably ate so much crap at school from putting up with students, and then they're like, "Hey," he's like,
No way.
y'all gonna suffer."
It's like, what do you even say to that? So much for survival. He's like, we didn't have our chance in the jungle. You're not having your chance today.
It's like also you're comparing junior high to or whatever.
Yeah.
War, okay. Which you probably had a lot. I mean, a lot of people come back from that stuff, and I mean, especially back then. I'm sure they kind of kept that mentality, like Well, anyway, I'll talk about something else when we get to it.
All right. After that, you have they finish up. That's the end, and you have the end of school, and you've got the teacher with another great line. It's like, remember, you're celebrating a bunch of white aristocratic slave-owning men that didn't want to pay their taxes.
I love she's always kind of a little nonchalant peace sign to someone right there, kind of like yeah.
Well, what's crazy is, there was a revolution over 2% tax on some like tea and stuff.
I forget that actor's name that played Jenny, but I follow her on Instagram. Because just one day I saw, yes, I'm the one from the scene, and I'm like, oh, cool. I don't know what she does, but I was like, well, I got to follow you then. See if you do any cons or something. No.
So then you have the crew, Mitch and his little crew running off like little scaredy cats. Was that a fire slide?
Yeah. I remember schools having those back in the day, fire escape slides. Yeah. I always wanted to go down on, but, we didn't get to. Yeah, I totally remember those. At Shiner, they had one. And I was like, has anybody ever gone down that slide? It's like, no, it's only in case of a fire.
I'm trying to remember if I've seen one. I feel like I've seen one once before, but
they've been on older schools.
Yeah, I'm talking about
older big schools and stuff. And I'm sure they got rid of them for legal reasons. People probably getting hurt because it's pretty
safety. Yeah,
it's pretty dangerous.
That's hazardous.
But if you think about the playgrounds we had back in the day,
yeah, very true.
Yeah.
And so the boys are hauling butt from their hazing. Meanwhile, the girls are just hopping in the pickups willingly. Yeah. Of course, their hazing is not anywhere quite the same.
You know what? I only noticed recently when they're putting pacifiers in the girls' mouths. One of the girls they put a pacifier in the mouth is the girl that Hirschfelder's making out with at the junior high dance later.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Deanie something's her name, but okay. She didn't really do anything else. But yeah, I was like, whoa, I love that when an extra, when you see him again and whatnot. He got to handpick the girl he made out with too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he'd known her. They went to school together. He had a crush on her. I was like, and she's like, yeah, it was weird because we were friends. Anyway.
Then you have Jim Dandy to the rescue.
Oh, yep, great song in there.
And so they're chasing Mitch and them. You have Benny and Melvin and
because they
O'Banion.
say Edgar or something like that got his brother's car.
Yeah.
Then that's when they went. Yeah, and then there's where you see like the burnout mark I was talking about.
They're hauling all over that street, like driving wild just to chase down some junior high kids to beat them.
Yeah, he cuts through like a yard, and stuff. It's insane.
just to catch up with some kids and assault them with a weapon.
It's really some dark undertones, man.
I mean, imagine. What would you do if you look out and you see your kid and his best friend come running up on your porch and some grown man chasing him with a freaking bat?
Yeah, so do this like 6'2", because he's a big guy.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck's a big dude.
Yes.
I guess I might answer the door with 12 gauge. Even if it embarrasses my kid, he's like, Mom!
Just like Carl's mom.
And then Banyan tries so hard to play it off. Oh, yeah, there's some ruffians about. It's so hard. It's like at that point, dude, you have a paddle.
It's like, dude, you're busted. Just leave. And they stick their heads out.
Yeah. Oh, I saw that. Yeah. Which you need that because it really plays into to them later and stuff.
He's egging him on. He's like, "I'm going to get you back for that." And
yeah, you're good pieces of. There's so much cussing in this movie, but it's like they wanted them to cut down on the cussing. But Linklater's like, no, that's how the arrogance of youth. That's how you talk. But they cut out. Because it's basically rated R. The big part of it being rated R was the language.
Yes.
But they went back over a lot of the F-bombs and dubbed other stuff in there.
Yes, that's one of them when the mom steps out.
Yeah.
That's dubbed hell.
Oh, really?
Yes,
right
and
on.
if you look at it, you can see she's not saying hell.
Right. Yeah. But Linklater he's very, when it comes to era stuff, he's really into that, like he wouldn't let anybody say dude in this. He's like, nobody said dude back then. He's like, that came later.
Okay.
In fact, I know I've talked to you a little bit about how bad he hated the smiley face logo.
Yes.
And one of the reasons he said he hated that, he's like, the smiley face was big from 72 to 74. He's like, in 76, nobody cared about the smiley face. It was over. He's like, so we're not using that. But of course, he hates it. Anytime he autographed, he said people are always bringing him stuff, though, or he always like defaces it and stuff. They always draw over it and stuff. He's like, I hate it. He holds a grudge. Linklater can hold a grudge.
Then you have Mike and Tony whenever they're all watching the girls and their little hazing. He's like, they're even selling concessions. He's like,
obviously they're selling concessions.
It's like they're overlooking all this stuff. It's like the parents obviously don't seem to mind. The town just overlooks it. He's like, and they're selling concessions.
It's like, but they're there. And I like how.
Like, what are they doing?
I guess we established her name's Kay. She's just like hanging out by them, smoking, you know? Like
okay, yeah, the short hair. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
she's the one that was like, she's just there, kind of like looking at them and stuff. But you know, like if they really were geeks or whatever, and she's popular, she wouldn't have been standing.
Would not have been standing.
But that just shows you kind of there's this equality thing, you know. And they're Pink's friends and everything. But man, Parker Posley, dude, obviously rocks this scene so hard.
And she's such a B&a half.
I mean, air raid, come on now. Like if somebody says air raid.
My if I'm not mistaken, one of my aunts has experienced that.
Yeah,
having to do that air raid thing. Yeah, like air raid specifically. Like she knew it.
I guess it's a real deal.
Yeah,
real thing, dude. Who do you think gets? I mean,
well, you notice some of the girls showed up prepared with knee pads.
I noticed they are wearing knee pads. I never thought about the fact that they didn't wear those.
Well, there's like 2 or 3 of them that are not everyone, but
they used real condiments for that scene.
Oh,
yeah, and some of them, and it was hot, and it was. Some of them got sunburns, and you could. They said like where the condiments were, it didn't burn. One girl said she like couldn't eat hot dogs after that for like a long time because ketchup and mustard was just so gross to her. And there was several hours of that. You know, they said it was the mustard was like cooking on them. And stuff, yeah. So shout out to them being some freaking warriors, dude, putting up with that stuff.
And the poor girl gets dragged up to Dawson to Donnie.
Okay, now
that was.
I appreciate if you watch how like shocked like Slater is by that and stuff. You know, like it's just like
that's degrading.
Because you know, watching that when I was 16, 17, funny. You know, now watching it because a thing also about Don, the guy that played Don, he lied about his age. He was like 26 in that movie. Yeah, he said he was like 20 or something, you know, which he also might have had a little bit of a relationship with the girl in there. He said it was very innocent. He said they kissed or something. He's like, it was, but he felt bad because he had to lie to everybody about his age because that's how he got the role. And he wanted to be honest with people about him being 26, but by now he had to let the lie ride, you know? So it's like, yeah, that's kind of creepy. So now this is a 26-year-old man talking to a 14-year-old girl in that scene. When you look at it like that in that context, bad deal.
Yeah, that's not cool.
No, but also think about the fact that girl didn't even know what he was talking about.
Right.
Too. Not saying it's any better, but I think it's relevant to the scene, you know? She's like, whatever you want, you know? She's not like, oh, yeah, you know?
She kind of goes along with it, like, what? You know, and then she's like, such a...
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that he does get heat for that, you know, even though it is, I don't know if it's the sketchiest line in the movie, but the fact that nobody likes it around him, I'm saying that I think is probably a positive.
Well, to counter that, you have Sabrina and Tony.
Yeah, now that's sweet.
That's cute, you know. Yeah, you know, it's like that kind of works out. Of course, Tony is a sweet guy, and so you know it works out because he's just like, get up, you know.
Right? Yeah, like seriously, he treat people as equals and stuff, you know.
Like, why are you even doing this? You know?
What's that? You know, it was kind of like talked about too, like the herd mentality later, but it's like also people can be jerks when they're all together. You know what I mean? And I think with Don, that's what he's being a jerk because he's surrounded by people and stuff, you know?
Yeah, but Anthony's his friends there and he's just
but Anthony's not like that. Anthony doesn't, you know, care much about all these people around him and stuff.
Plus, even if he's going by the people that's around him, he's got Mike standing next to him.
Right.
So it's like,
and Mike's a good friend too. Yeah. Hey. And like, cause you know, later on he tells Cynthia, you know, so Mike,
I think they know what's up. Yeah, he's the one that says, he's like, was I mistaken? Was there something going on?
Yeah, exactly.
That little vixen.
Dude, he gasses him up. Yeah. He's like, dude, you know how many people are not like that? Like even friends, you know, they get like
jealous over it.
So jealous.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, I don't think she's really into you, or what are you doing, dude? Oh, man, I think she was joking, man. Yeah, that toxic crap, dude. I hate that. I've been freaking blocked by so many friends. You know what I mean? Or just get in my ear and be like, dude, nah, she ain't into you, man. Now I'm the opposite. I'm like, you think she likes you, bro? Go for it. Why would she? Look at you, bro. Look at you.
I will attest to that. He is to an annoying extent sometimes. Yes. Yes.
I'm annoying all the time,
Yes.
brother.
No, like that's no, you're not. But yeah, it's like, okay, dude. All right, no, and you're just, but it's a positive thing
Yeah.
that you're trying to do. But it's like, bro, all right, I don't. Okay, it's
He's right.
all right. It's like, okay, no,
Yeah,
yeah. Unfortunately, most of the time you are right.
Well, thank goodness I'm there.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad
friendship.
thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But it's just like, okay, all right. Okay, now I have to either do something or say something. It's like, all right, pressure.
I wish I had a
pressure.
friend like me.
It's the pressure.
I wish
I would have got out of your way.
I
That's
wish
it.
any of my friends were
I just
half
would've-
as good as I
I
am.
just got out of the way. I'm like, whatever, you do your thing. Okay, whatever, dude. Did you ever notice the girls in the background picking up flowers with their teeth?
No, I don't think so.
During that scene, whenever with Sabrina and Tony and everything, whenever it goes over to Sabrina, you can see she's standing there with the girls that have the collars and the leashes, and they're having the bend. They're going down there picking up. Because at first I was like, are they making them eat grass? And then I saw the flowers. They've got flowers that they're picking up and holding in their teeth.
That's weird. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. You're
I
just
don't know.
making them pick up flowers with their teeth. And
I know the Fry Like Piggy scene. Joey Lauren Adams wrote that was the scene she wrote.
Oh,
you
really?
know? And Linklater's like, she's like, hey, I wrote this scene I want to do. He's like, okay, what do you need? She's like, I need a couple girls. She's like, okay, do it. Because she had heard about somebody told her about that before.
Yeah.
So she just wanted to do it. So again, that's just a testament to Linklater being like, okay, you want to try something? They did it. It worked. Okay, cool.
Keeping it,
you know, because
right.
it's pretty iconic for the, you know, if you say that, people know what you're talking about.
Right.
You know, Fry Like, you know, Dazed and Confused. Yeah.
right. What about the car wash?
They put a camera on the to get that shot. The
Yeah.
camera's like on the freaking thing.
Okay.
Yeah, which was a pretty cool idea. And they were saying it was a little bit unnecessary. But the guy that I forget the guy, the cinematographer or whatever, was like, I'm doing this, and like, okay, you know, like, it's a good shot, but I don't think we needed it, but okay, you know. So I think that would hurt so bad.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I don't think you couldn't do that with today's
Yeah,
car washes.
You
at
would have
all.
to turn
that.
They must turn it down
Yeah,
or
the
something.
pressure way down.
Bro,
Yeah.
I put one time. I was like, oh, I shot myself in the hand.
Hell
No,
no. Yeah.
bad.
I don't know. They've got an automatic car wash in Alney that it's pitiful.
I would love to put like a scene in a movie where a guy's getting chased and he runs to a car wash and he pulls out like 75 cents, puts it in, and then starts blasting the guy and like holding him down, then runs out to put more money in it. The dude's getting up and stuff. And then they're just out of his range. Like maybe some friends or something, like yelling at each other. Don't you drop that quarter in there.
Don't you do it.
Don't worry, he's going to run out of change eventually.
Then you have the Slater's like, hey, I need to do some business with Pig.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Later on, he borrows 10 of the 15.
Yes. You spot me $10. And Pig's like, you know.
Might as well be his at that point.
Right, and I'll pay you like Tuesday. And dude, that chair is so awesome. They're setting in.
The big one.
Yeah, that one. And man, okay, look, I get it. They're in there and they're smoking, and then like
All the windows down.
yeah, and spray a little aerosol.
And he carries the incense a little bit.
It's like, you telling me the Pickfords just really didn't know? Were they oblivious? Which I was. By the way, I had not to get a little ahead of myself here. I had a superintendent. Danny Bella, he looked so much like Pickford's dad. I think he dressed like him too. Nice guy, super nice. He's passed now, but he's a super nice guy. He's a sweetheart of a man. He's super. But every time I see that, I'm like, Danny freaking Bella, right there.
Well, you know, it's like all four of them obviously look guilty too.
Oh yeah,
Like horribly guilty.
He asked, "Do you kids know anything about a party here tonight?" It's like they're gonna go. Well, yes, I do think I do.
I've heard something.
Pickford's
about
been
that.
bad.
Yes,
You
yes,
know?
yes. He, as a matter of fact, I think he ordered beer.
And see, I jumped a little bit because he's like, they're panicking, and Slater's like weighing the back. That doesn't feel right, man. Yeah, to the last minute, he's still like, dude.
Which, of course, he's walking around with a shirt with a giant marijuana.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. So, what's the deal with that? He drew that, by the way. Rory
really?
did. Yeah, he drew that on there. He was wearing a wig too. That's why he had to wear that hat.
Was he one of them that was in A Scanner Darkly?
Yeah. played a drug addict in that.
yeah.
He was like, "Hey, Richard, I placed something besides a drug addict." After this movie though, he got all kinds of offers, dude. Like for that character.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, he could have done a lot
It's
of
like
stuff.
Chris
But
Tucker with Smokey.
exactly, yeah. He was on the cover of High Times and stuff like that. But he didn't. He got real guarded about the roles he would take
Yeah.
and stuff. I forget. Like he said, even like, "Where's my car?" They were calling him.
Oh, really?
For that. Yeah, it's like any movie you saw that had a stoner character in it, basically he was offered.
Oh, okay. Um, believe it or not, we're encroaching on the second hour.
The second hour, we did better. We got into the movie.
So the day is over with. We'll put
Right.
it that way. The day is over.
Well,
that
hold
is-
on. We got to talk about the beer scene a little bit, the beer keg scene.
Oh,
Because,
yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
because he's like, yeah, like he says, like, so wrong address, and
Well, that's whenever he busts out with it.
yeah, the abs. And they said that was one of those scenes that like he would do that scene, and then he would be like, and he would turn to the guy that played the keg delivery guy.
Mhm.
Said he would turn to me and be like, "Okay, at that time my character was hungover." And then he'd do it. He'd do this. He goes, "At that time, my character was paranoid." He'd be like, "At that time, my character was really stoned." And he's like, "Okay, okay."
Like, can we
Yeah.
shoot the scene?
Yeah, just shoot the scene. Can you just do it like you did it and do it again? I love that beer dude. See, I'd watch a show about him, man. Just because he's so cool. Like, oh, wrong,
Like,
Mr.
oh,
Pickford, all together. Yeah, and of course the parents now.
It's too late.
Yeah, their son can smoke out his room and they don't catch him. But dadgum, they smart.
We know that you're
Were you
ordering
gonna have a
kegs of
party here
beer.
tonight, son?
Oh.
Okay, and I got to call BS on this too. What that would have happened that way, but the parents would not have said. They wouldn't have said, "Unpack your bags, we're not going anywhere." No, those parents would have said,
You're coming
"Coming with
me.
us." Exactly. 100,
Go pack a bag. You're coming
You
with
are
us.
coming with us. We're not leaving here alone. Exactly, dude. That's one thing for the sake of the movie. Okay, but they're not canceling their plans. They're dragging you along,
Yep.
unless he really is that obnoxious of a character. Like, I'm not. No,
Quite
I'm
possibly.
not going to be in the car for 2 hours. Looking at himself in the mirror.
Well, then it's like you get to go out. It's like, what do you think he's gonna do?
Right, yeah. I mean, he's the rich kid too. Look at his house, look at his
Yeah.
car. They were gonna have the party at his house. Party got busted though. All right, now I think we're going into. I think that's pretty much the end of the
Yeah,
day.
that's the end of the day because next is free ride.
Oh yeah, everybody getting ready and stuff.
Yeah.
So all right, we did pretty good with that.
Okay, so we will continue on with the beginning of the night of Dazed and Confused on the next episode of the Scarecrow Hour.
Yeah, and this is really good because we get into some Wooderson finally.
Finally,
All
Wooderson.
right.
Alright.
Dude, we can do a whole episode of. Anyway, yep. Okay, so don't give up on us.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check us out at UncleSamPresents.com, YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, all those fun things. So you know what to do.
Yeah, and if you know anything about this movie that I don't, please hit us up and let us know. Okay, I
Either
got
it-
soaking it all up.
Either in the comments or email us or find us on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, dude. We're there. Okay, do
Don't
it.
do TikTok yet.
Welcome everyone, Uncle Sam presents the Scarecrow Hour. Welcome to the Scarecrow, Scarecrow Hour.
Copyright 2025 Uncles and Presents. UNKLESampresents.com. Email us at
Random, the most random ninja.
Instagram, and Twitter.
Uncle, who's your uncle? The Scarecrow Hour, brought to you by Uncle Sam.
Check out the rest of our
This is the Scarecrow Hour.